Oye, mi gente, you know who this is. I want to welcome all of the viewers that are tuning in across the country and around the world. This is our third installment in the video series, We Are Not Invisible. And in our first two installments, we talked about schizophrenia in the Black American community, and our latest one we talked about depression in the Black American community. In this installment, I want to address bipolar disorder in the Black American community. When I say the Black American community, I'm speaking about the ethnic group of Black people that were born and raised in the United States, in American culture, that speak English and that were raised in American culture. As we know, just very briefly, there are Black people from different countries all over the world: Africa, England, the Caribbean, even Italy, Australia. And each of those particular ethnic groups of Black people have their own individual culture. As a mixed race Black American male, I cannot speak to any of those other ethnic groups of Black people because I don't know how they deal with these issues of mental health and the challenges that it brings. So I want to be very clear about which ethnic group of Black people that I'm speaking to. For more information regarding different ethnic groups of people and Black people, you can definitely check out my video, Why I'm Not an African American. But let me go on target with this video. In American culture, and particularly within the subculture of Black American people, we are usually guilty of one of three things when it comes to mental illness and bipolar disorder. We either say, one, it doesn't exist, or number two, we minimalize it and say, oh, it's nothing, you'll get over it, just pull yourself together, or we make a joke out of it because it's been so trivialized through commercial media. Oh, I'm bipolar today, I had to take my pill, and we make light of it. But bipolar disorder is a very serious mental health disorder, and one of the things that it does, it causes a person to not be able to regulate their emotions. It's just a very horrible experience to be in a situation where you cannot control your moods and emotions. And if you don't think that's serious, can you imagine getting depressed, so depressed, like somebody in your family that you were very close to died and that didn't happen? And the feeling was so pervasive you couldn't pull out of it, and you go through all of the grieving. It's, it could be any number of events, but I'm trying to bring you an example of something that's so heavy and so devastating that it would affect most people in a very dramatic way. That's what the depressive portion of bipolar illness can do to you. Make you so depressed that you can't function, that you don't want to go around people, that for some people, you stay in the house, you can't even work, you can't take care of yourself, bathe, brush your teeth, clean up your house, all of those things. And as a person living with bipolar disorder, I can certainly speak and address, these things and these issues. It's just a terrible experience. Most people that don't have bipolar disorder, if you go through a stressor in life, you will be able to recover from that in a reasonable amount of time, maybe in a day or a couple of days or whatever. You'll get over whatever it is that happened. Now, if someone passed, maybe a longer period of time, and that's natural. But if you are one that is living with bipolar disorder, it doesn't take anything specific to happen. this very severe, drastic, and intense depression can come upon you out of really nowhere. You know, there are certain things sometimes as well that can trigger. Maybe you can have a regular event, something can happen, you know what I'm saying, a small thing or whatever, like that will happen to anyone else, that can trigger it. But with bipolar disorder, it's not dependent upon that. You can just get extremely depressed and you can't pull yourself out of it, and it can escalate and snowball to the point where you can become so dark and depressed where you feel there's no point in living and you become suicidal. Been there, have those episodes, have those moments, definitely, you know. And the other side of it, where you can get mania, where you can get so manic and hyper and out of control and even become psychotic when you begin to believe that, for example, you have superpowers. You can jump off of a building, that you can leap in front of a train. I mean, literally some Superman type of stuff, you know, or that you're rich and you have so much money that you start to give away money out of your bank account, or that you want to just get an idea, you jump up and travel and go to California or Florida or Atlanta or wherever, or even Paris, you know what I'm saying, you just jump and go. There are really extreme situations that mania can take you, and you can become so manic or so super energized and so out of control that it will take an intervention. Someone will have to get you to the hospital. They may even have to call the police, and a lot of times that's dangerous for us, because in many instances the police are not trained to deal with people properly that are having a psychotic episode. And if you look at many of my videos I've done about all the people with mental illness, and particularly so many black people that have been murdered by the police when the police showed up, because the police will give a command, and if you're psychotic you can't respond to that command. You may even feel the person is there trying to harm you, and you're trying to get away from them or fight for your life. It's just really devastating, you know. But the purpose of this video is not to go into a whole lot of the details about bipolar disorder. I did a really extensive video about that. It's basically called or dealing with the differences between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 disorder. And there's several different types of bipolar. But I just wanted to bring some general information so we can keep talking about this, so we can keep having this conversation. Bipolar disorder is real, and it can be a devastating disorder, and it takes a lot of support, and it really takes for that person also to understand they have a problem. But with the stigma that we have so much in the black community, it's very difficult, and it's really a miracle when a black man or woman or youth can get to the point where they realize something is wrong and that they need help, because of all the pressure we have in our community to do, like I said, one of three things: to either say it's not real, or minimalize it, pull yourself together, you know, so you hear these kind of comments, or make jokes about it. So to come through all of those stereotypes and stigmas, to reach out and get help, and a lot of times you have to go out of your area, out of your community, to go to places that have good services, or it's difficult to access service because you don't have insurance to pay for it. You know, a lot of times as black people here in America, you know, we don't have a lot of resources in our communities. So a lot of times our people are suffering, walking around extremely depressed with bipolar or manic, and to self-medicate, people are turning to drugs, alcohol, sex, food, all kind of addictions, you name it, they're doing it. I've done it. I turned to alcohol for a long time, trying to medicate, not really understanding what was wrong, you know what I'm saying? And another thing, just really briefly, and I had this recently, I have bipolar 2, and that particular type of bipolar gives you very severe depression, and you have periodic episodes of hypomania. That's when you get really hyped or energetic, and you, at times, it's difficult to control. It's not to the extent of mania where you need an intervention, but this reduced mania called hypomania can give you increased energy where you can't go to sleep, racing thoughts, increased sex drive, all kind of things that take you anywhere from where you're having a really good time, or it takes you almost to the edge where you begin to feel uncomfortable even though your mood is elevated. I had this happen to me briefly, just to tell a little story about me trying to access services. I'm ready to really, begin one-on-one therapy, and as I shared in a few videos ago, hey, I could really use some advice. I talked about wanting to really sit down and really do one-on-one therapy to really begin doing my work, for things that have happened in my life. And so I took time and really began to search and research, and take a lot of advice and listen to, the messages that people sent regarding what I should do for that. So I'm ready to do it, and I started calling. I started getting all kind of not backlash, but just craziness from the people answering the phones. I mean, it's like the people are supposed to be there to help you, and they're being combative and ignorant. It was very discouraging, and I got really depressed. But then, out of nowhere, my mood flipped. This was a couple nights ago, and I went into a hypomanic episode. So I jumped on my bike. It was like the middle of the night, and I kept riding, and I was like on a high. And at first it felt good, but then it began to feel really bad and scary because I couldn't stop and I couldn't slow down, and I was going extremely fast, and I was almost in reckless situations, and I was thinking to myself how to come down, and I had to let it ride itself out. This is just a small example of a hypomanic episode. Now, if somebody see me, they thought this guy's really just riding really fast and crazy the way he's driving, his bike or whatever. But it wasn't fun, and it was almost scary. Like I said, it didn't go over to mania because it didn't go really intense where I had to have somebody to help me or be restrained or anything like that. But what I want to say in reference to this, sometimes with bipolar disorder, when people are having mania and hypomania, it's difficult to control your actions. So I want to say that so people can understand that if you see somebody, that you suspect they may have bipolar disorder, they're talking a mile a minute, they cannot be still, they're being very loud, they're being very aggressive, they're being overly playful, they may be having a hypomanic episode. They're being over-sexual, they're drinking, they're getting high a lot, they just seem to be on 10 or 20. In a lot of instances, if that's happening, you really can't control it at that moment. It's very difficult. It takes really years of, for many people living with bipolar disorder to be able to even manage, your depression or to manage your hypomania. Now, when you hit mania, most people cannot manage that. When you hit a full-blown manic episode, generally in most instances that takes an intervention, because that could even wind up being dangerous or really reckless, because you can wind up putting yourself in harm's way or others in harm's way, or hurting yourself, financially, spend all your money, or not paying your bills and getting evicted, all kinds of things. So I just wanted to, say this video to say that we as Black Americans, we have to really pay attention to this and understand that bipolar disorder is real. It's not a joke. It's not something that's fun for the movies. It's not something that you can just think positively and it'll go away. This is a serious mental health challenge that we've got to deal with. So I hope me sharing a little about this and just giving you some real life examples and bring some information, kind of help to bring a little bit more, I would say, clarity about it. And there is one other thing I want to say, that for some people that are living with bipolar disorder, they can have what's called episodes of disassociation. Okay, I've had several, and there are like 5 different types of disassociation, and for some of us it can progress and become so pervasive and happen on such a frequent basis that it can turn into a dissociative disorder, to coexist with the bipolar. But for a lot of us, we'll have, periods of amnesia when you can't remember incidents or experiences, things that happen, or you can't remember important things that happened in your life. I've had that on several occasions. I don't have it ongoing, but from time to time I do have that. Like I've lost weeks at a time on several episodes in my life that I can remember. Well, I couldn't remember what happened over maybe a 2-week period of time, or one time even I think about a month. I couldn't remember much of what happened when I was going through a very bad depressive episode. I've had depersonalization. That's when you feel your body isn't real, or you feel like you're having an out-of-body experience, like you're standing back watching yourself. I've had derealization, where it's feeling like the world around you is not real. Or you feel that, people are changing or morphing into something other than a human being. I've had that experience during a hypomanic episode. I've had identity confusion, and I have that. Actually, that's kind of pervasive. That's basically when you feel uncertain about who you are, and you feel it to be a very difficult thing to try to define yourself. I definitely have challenges with that, and I've had other thing called identity alteration, and that's when you have a dramatic shift in your behavior. Like maybe in one instance you're behave this way, and then another instance you behave another way. So these are things also that can affect people that have bipolar disorder, that aren't really well known. So I wanted to bring that out and address so people can understand how serious bipolar disorder is. It's something to laugh at. It's something we got to definitely, really pay attention to and be supportive and be aware of. And I will tell anyone out there, if you feel that you or a loved one, is experiencing symptoms of bipolar disorder, definitely see a psychiatrist immediately as soon as possible. That's a medical doctor, so they can run all the tests on you to rule out, any other physical condition that may be mimicking the symptoms of bipolar disorder. And so you can get a proper diagnosis, and so you can find out what plan of treatment will be right for you, and definitely you can visit NAMI.com or blackclothes.com. These are social sites online that you can visit for online support as well. But it's important to reach out for help. I just remember, and I won't go into all of that now, but I remember when I began to get ill with bipolar disorder years ago, my whole personality changed, and I was turning into something I didn't know what I was. It was just really radical. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And then I look back now, I see exactly what it was. Maybe I'll make another video about that another time, but I just wanted to come and talk about this right now. So let's deal with bipolar disorder, and there is support out there, and you are not alone. All right, live and love, mi gente. Te quiero. Oye, mi gente, you know who this is. I want to welcome all of the viewers that are tuning in across the country and around the world. This is our third installment in the video series, We Are Not Invisible. And in our first two installments, we talked about schizophrenia in the Black American community, and our latest one we talked about depression in the Black American community. In this installment, I want to address bipolar disorder in the Black American community. When I say the Black American community, I'm speaking about the ethnic group of Black people that were born and raised as a mixed race Black American male. I cannot speak to any of those other ethnic groups of Black people because I don't know how they deal with these issues of mental health and the challenges that it brings. So I want to be very clear about which ethnic group of Black people that I'm speaking to. For more information, in the United States, in American culture, that speak English and that were raised in American culture. As we know, just very briefly, there are Black people from different countries all over the world: Africa, England, the Caribbean, even Italy, Australia. And each of those particular ethnic groups of Black people have their own individual culture.